You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Joining me halfway across the world, as always, Jared Morgan.
Hey, everyone. Hey, listen to me and my nice crisp audio again.
Yes, Jared has abandoned the Apple ecosphere and has come to the dark side with the majority of society and is rocking a new Surface Pro.
Well, Surface Book they call them. It's not the little one. It's not the one with the floppy keyboard. It's the one that's actually like a laptop with a nice keyboard and also the NVIDIA 1060 GPU and the base of it. So have a guess what I've been doing?
Yeah, discovering the wonders of dynamic lighting, no doubt.
Yeah, in all the things.
So here's the funny part: is that while Jared is rocking a new computer, my desktop computer took a crap this past weekend, and my motherboard went. So I am doing this via my laptop, but because I hate the aspects of laptops, I've plugged my keyboard in, I've plugged my touchpad in, I've plugged everything into the laptop. So basically, I'm just using it as a monitor.
Yeah, as God intended.
And but I am currently shopping for building a new PC, and I too probably will be rocking a new 1060 graphics card when the time comes.
It seems like a good fit. Like this thing is for a laptop. It's powerful as anything, eh? Like I'm just going far out. And the company I'm working for are good folks. They got me the big screen version of it. So it's a 15-inch. I think it's massive. And just in short, even with the massive specs this thing has, it's about the same price as a Mac. So, go figure with the things you can do with this. I've already used like the pen, like the tablet pen, the Surface pen, which is pretty amazing as a input device. So yeah, I'm very happy. I'm quite surprised actually. I think I'll be writing a Medium post about my experiences transitioning from Fruit to Windows. Yeah.
Well, folks, we know this is not why you are tuning in right now to hear us banter about computer. We have stuff to talk about. We've been waiting to talk about this. So as
jeez, it's been killing us.
Yeah, if you've been hiding under a proverbial rock this week, the announcement came down that Farsight has lost the license to Williams and Bally Pinball. And it's not just a matter of losing the license to continue to make tables. It's a complete loss of license. As of June 30th, you will not be able to purchase any of the Bally and Williams tables that were previously available. So there's we're getting that out front and center for everybody to know. June 30th, that's the cutoff. If you have tables that you would need to fill the gaps in, if you have a platform that you have yet to purchase on, you got to do it. Otherwise, you're not going to. We have a nice long interview with Bobby King that will be starting in just a few moments, and he answers quite a few questions. And then stick around for after the video. I say video because it looks like a video when I record it, but then all we do is give you audio because the video is really kind of boring since Bobby didn't want to be on camera, so it's just his shirt.
Yeah, I was wondering why that was, but I was watching this guy. I could see his very nice paisley pattern shirt, but I don't know quite what's going on.
After listening to the interview, we will have our own comments about what's going on and everything. But I did want to just say we have known about this since basically the beginning of April. I had joked with Jared that we were busy with all sorts of stuff right around then, and I was thinking, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do an April Fool's episode, and I'm gonna come on and I'm just gonna tell everybody that, oh, sorry folks, TPA went away, it's completely gone. There's never gonna be another table released. And literally a couple of days later, this news hits us, and Jared goes, dude, you were pathetic.
It was somewhat bizarre, the timing.
And I was just like, oh, I'm so glad I did not make that podcast.
That would not have come across well at all.
But we've kept our mouths shut because there was behind the scenes workings that may have affected this, may have not. Again, we'll go into that a little bit later, and we do have binding agreements with various gaming studios and stuff that make us shut up. So you'll have to forgive us, but we've literally been biting our tongues.
We've been wanting to talk about this, but we under NDA we are not able to.
So why don't we? Well, before we kick off the interview, I'm going to do one plug also, just to get it out there. For those of you that are interested in cabinet mode, you're going to want to pay attention to what Arcuda is doing, because they are selling the cabinet mode of 76 of the tables, and that sale also will be over by June 30th. Again, we'll talk about all this after the video is up and running. So that being said, sit back, take a good listen, take notes if you want to post it on the fan forum so that I don't have to. A lot of information coming your way via Bobby. So take it away to our previously recorded session. All right, and there you have it, folks. Hopefully, a lot of your questions have been answered.
There's a lot of information in there, right?
Right. Just a wee teeny tiny bit.
Some potentially juicy stuff in there that I got out of the interview, which I've been furiously taking notes on. So let's have our take on it first, and then I think we might also have an outside perspective as well.
It certainly looks like we do, and it's a voice that you've not heard for a while, folks. So, So Jared, what was your takeaway here?
So I think that let me start from the top, because the stuff leading up to around where the point where he was talking about Stern Pinball Arcade, and how that actually works in reality, and the fact that I really found it surprising that the game was harder to produce with native code and not emulated code. That was a very big surprise to me.
Do you think that has anything to do with the way the engine is set up is for emulation, and so all of a sudden it's kind of a round peg square hole situation?
Yeah, I think so. But I think the other thing too is that when they're running native code, that native code, it's supposed to be running on their specific hardware and their main boards in the game, so their spike system, or not really spike system, but their SAM system. So I think even though they've got access to the direct code, whatever that is, it's still something that requires some framework in place that would allow them to execute it. So I think it's probably the framework that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, and that's what makes me wonder is, so when they did that code though for the Stern Pinball app, is that then what they transported over to TPA, or did they then do a separate regular emulation for TPA? I couldn't quite get what he was saying with that.
Yeah, I'm unclear on that point as well. It would really be interesting to follow up with more technical details on that. And maybe Bobby's not the person to speak to about that. It might be someone who's managing that.
Right.
But it sounded to me like when I remember in the beta for Android, they were saying that, yes, they did have some challenges compressing everything enough that it would fit into the framework that the Pinball Arcade has. But what's interesting, I think the interesting thing is that I'm trying to recall where I was leading up here. I've got some banging noises in the background there that are driving me insane from the kids. I'm going to have to go in there and tell them to politely stop
and bust some heads. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here, why don't we? We're going to put a pause on this. Sean, I'll bring you in real quick. If I can. Or are you? Oh, there you go. There you go. I was going to.
Zachary,
you unmute yourself. Give us a test there, Sean.
And it's coming.
Greetings, Earthlings.
Yeah, not bad. You're. Do you have a direct mic, or are you doing a computer?
It's a headset.
It's a headset. Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's just that would work. Yeah. So I told Jared at the beginning of this session. Basically, we're not going to do any guesswork as to what is going to happen with the Williams license. We'll do that next week.
Sure.
This is all just going to be purely about what our initial reactions were. Upon hearing the news, I think that's when we'll bring you in, is for your kind of reactions about that. And then if you have additional comments about the interview, you'll be able to say your piece there.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's kind of where that's gonna fall.
Yeah. Okay, Sean.
So,
hello. It's been a long time.
Such a long time.
Literally years.
Yes.
Since we last
3.5.
Yes.
My last episode was number 16.
Oh my god. Yeah.
That's right. It was too.
The Addams Family one.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh yeah, man.
All right. Well, mute yourself, and we'll go back to Jared.
Okay.
So yeah, about where we left off before I had to go and intervene with some noise issues in the studio.
Stern Pinball Lap, are they porting it to TPA, or are they building it specifically for TPA as opposed to SPA?
I think if they're going down the path of, as we heard in the interview, the whole idea behind Stern Pinball Arcade is going to be Stern Arcade free to play, with gold bars, quote unquote. So, if that's going to be the case, they're going to have to keep within the framework of Stern Pinball Arcade for that particular version of the app. But they might flip it. They might actually just go with their regular emulation framework that they use in TPA and port that back over into the core app. Because what's the point? What's the advantage, the business advantage, from running two different emulation frameworks just for the pure reason of running native code if the native code doesn't actually solve any problems for them?
Right.
So I reckon they're going to just start going back to emulation.
I kind of what I got out of that for what is going to be happening with the Stern Pinball Arcade app, that's going to be kind of a mobile thing. It's going to be a mobile game. And I know there's going to be a ton of questions from people asking, well, I already bought the season's worth of Stern Pinball. What's going to... Folks, I don't know what to tell you, man. I always, when as soon as Stern Pinball Arcade app came out, I always kept it at a distance, because I was just like, this is Farsight doing what they do, which is they dump something out at you without it being necessarily fully hatched. And for once, I was going to let it fully hatch, and now I feel like, yay me, because
now I have to work out what I need to do about it. Right.
You know, if it's all just going to be coming to TPA anyway, then great. I continue with TPA, and I can ignore the Stern Pinball app, other than it being, like he said, a free play mode where you're going to be able to actually earn enough points to purchase the table, if you will. So to me, that sounds like a mobile app, and I think that they should focus it on being a mobile app. Although the Stern Pinball Arcade on the Switch is the best version of it. It is. It sucks on Steam. It's not much better on iOS,
or Android,
but it looks brilliant on the Switch. So I really don't know what to make of that. And meanwhile, the Switch version of TPA, which just got released, is completely gutted of all the Williams stuff. So,
look, I just hope that what they're doing on Steam is essentially like the test bed for the other platforms, because I think the way they're doing it on Steam is a much better approach to the way to present that particular offering. And if it's going to evolve into more of a like you say, a mobile style game, and TPA will still remain the core app where all pinball is delivered through, it just becomes a different advertising medium for Stern and for Pinball and for Farsight. If they keep it on those mobile platforms. I actually think that they're onto something there with that decision. initially when they did port Ghostbusters over, I was going, oh, this feels like they're going to dilute it, because we didn't have any information about the actual strategy with it, and it felt disconnected. But I think now that Bobby's told us this new direction, I'm actually okay with the idea, to be perfectly honest.
Well, and you know what makes it okay is, again, if you want to just outright purchase it, you're going to be able to have that option in TPA. If you want to play the game of mobile, then you'll have that option too. So yeah, I'm okay with that, and I would just kind of side with embrace that. Don't muck around with it. Just go full tilt and do it.
The thing is that I think that decision in itself is going to satisfy a lot of the fans of Pinball Arcade, because they really didn't like the fact that they had to have 2 apps on their phone to actually receive the Stern tables. So, that's actually going to be a big customer win for them to actually do that.
Now, the takeaway of this, since we're talking about Stern, the thing that I was quite surprised by is that they have a plan to be able to do things like Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, Batman 66,
right?
Like Iron Maiden, with that just being released. Yeah, they're going to do these LCD screens.
And that was the biggest bone of contention that I think we both shared with Stern Pinball Arcade, because we knew that, adding the video, like the actual high definition, we're talking HD here as well. We're not just talking regular SD or anything like that. So putting that on top of the already difficult to manage framework that they had to deal with, there was a lot of concern, certainly with me from a technical aspect, that this wasn't going to be possible. But great news that they've actually got a strategy for that moving forward. That's excellent.
Yeah. Bobby told me that they don't have it working yet.
But they got strategy.
But they got strategy. And more to the point, it's that Stern is fully involved with this, trying to make it so they can do day and date.
And that's really the unicorns and rainbow solution we were thinking of when we first heard of this opportunity, right? Like having that marketing ability to go, look, here's the game digitally, and here's the game that you can go and play as well. Like that's a huge tie-in.
Well, and you think about this too. Again, with the mobile version of Stern Pinball Arcade, they can do day and date with that. Right? And then they're not going to have to worry about dipping into sales if they don't put it on sale for TPA right away. You know what I mean? So you're getting those people doing the limited playthroughs or whatever, getting a taste for it, building up an appetite for it, and then maybe later, I'm just spitballing here, and then maybe later getting it on TPA. I don't know that doing day and date with TPA and SPA at the same time would make necessarily the most sense.
You could have a point there. I think in some ways using that mobile avenue, because everyone will have access to their mobile, even if they go to the arcade with an Iron Maiden in there, and Iron Maiden is in the Stern Pinball Arcade app. How good would it be to be waiting in line to play and also knocking off a few balls on the game while you're waiting to play? Like it's always thinking about Stern and always thinking about pinball, even when you're waiting for pinball. Like that's a pretty good thing. I can see when you actually go for Papa tournaments, there might be a sanction on no playing Stern Pinball Arcade while you're waiting for the game, because that's constituted, because normally in tournaments you can't play a game because it's considered practice. Well, I've got essentially 99 of the tables that are available in the big tournaments now, plus the Stern ones on my phone. So is that practice? Gray area.
What else did you take out of the interview there?
Good question. So I was a little tidbit of information that didn't pass me by was the fact that Bobby was actually doing the buying of the tables before Norman ever was. So he was going out there and sourcing all the tables first, and then he handed the role off to Norman to continue to do the mantle, which was interesting. But I think their approach to continue their relationship with the Banning Pinball Museum is a good approach. But at the same time, they still want to buy the games, right?
Yeah, yeah, and he said that they're going to.
Certainly the Stearns.
Certainly with Stearns, and I imagine if it's a more modern Gottlieb, probably. So if they're doing any more Gottlieb premieres, I imagine probably if they even do a solid state, that they would still purchase. It's probably just going to be those EMs that they won't.
Just because they're so terrible for maintenance.
Yeah.
They are a nightmare to maintain. So really, all they really get the EM4 is just for the playfield scans and the playfield shields. I learned an interesting term doing my restoration for Star Race, and that, how we always refer to the artwork, the plastic artwork on the games as plastics.
Yeah.
Well, the official name for them in the Gottlieb manual are playfield shields. Playfield shields.
Okay.
And it's actually in the Gottlieb manuals, certainly in the Star Race era, they were not called playfields, they were called playboards.
Oh,
so there you go. So I think the playfield is a term that has evolved over time.
So if you go back in a time machine, folks, don't give yourself away.
That's right. Yeah. Playfield. I think I like the term playfield shields. I think I might continue using that just to sound a little bit different. But yes, I'll leave any talk for Star Race until another episode, because we've got plenty to talk about.
Yeah. I also found it interesting that what he was saying about how they were already transitioning out of Pinball Arcade in terms of starting up new games. Once they stop with the monthly release, that they were, they got 2 new IPs that they're going to be focusing on, plus a pinball 2D game. So in terms of people's fears, I know in our realm, all we think of Farsight as is pinball. And so if they're gutted of the pinball, what's that going to do to them? But you got to remember, they were around for, I think, 15 years before starting TPA.
Yeah.
And, so they're definitely over 20 years around as a studio. That's a long time for a game studio.
Yes,
they're exceedingly frugal. So I don't believe that there's any risk for them to suddenly up and disappear. And that's why Bobby was making the point that, hey, so long as you've purchased the tables, they're keeping the servers on. And he told me later the servers are rather inexpensive to keep up and going for the leaderboards. So long as that's going on, you're not going to have an issue with losing any of your games that you have, no matter what way you purchased it, whether you purchased it in-app or separately.
And that also goes for the CDN servers, so where you actually download the games from. Those are in the same boat. They'd all be probably, I'd speculate here, but they'll be using Amazon Web Services to provision them.
Yeah.
So it'll all just be based on usage. And you're right, it would be very cheap to maintain those.
So I mean, there's I know it's not this ironclad, oh good, my stuff is safe for a long time, but as some resourceful people that we know have said, oh, I'm just going to be burning an image of the game right before that final date. And, if you're on Steam, just hit me up and I'll give you a copy.
Exactly. So, there's, I guess that's the thing on Steam. You can actually do essentially backups of the entire, do a snapshot of the game, and there's a low risk that you could do it.
Now if you're on iOS or PS4 or Xbone, well, then you don't have that safety net, which does count.
You can go and copy all the tables out of the actual app directory and download all the table files that way and store them in Drive, but you still have to have entitlements to them to actually unlock, I think.
Yeah.
So that still is a thing. You can download the files, but it's got to be essentially unlocked through the app to play. So
I also found it interesting, and I don't know how much I believe him, but my understanding was that with this, they would be able to maintain tables, in case a bug appeared. Our initial gut reaction, or a lot of people's gut reactions, was, oh crap, so now we're stuck with the way Monster Bash looks. Because we know that they've had plans on redoing that one. But for Bobby to say that no, they can still go back and do stuff. My only thing is, they've always kind of leaned with the, hey, if there is any financial gain to it, then it makes it worth our time. But if there isn't, then what's the point? And there's really no point in doing that now.
There isn't, but the thing they have as an advantage now is time. So
Certainly.
it's probably not unlimited time because they're still actually doing 2 new IPs that they're actually working out. But at the same time, they're not under that incredible pressure to do that monthly DLC, which I think really was when they say it wasn't beneficial enough for them. I think that was using the triangle of software development, which is like time, cost, resources. And really, if you look at the time, if you have a hard constraint on time and you have a hard constraint on resources, then it comes down to a cost argument. So that's probably what they were talking about there.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think a lot of those constraints have been at least adjusted, or the goalposts have been moved. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure the ethos of the studio is still the same. In fact, they want to actually have the tables looking the best they can, and playing the best they can. It's just that they didn't have the time to do that.
I mean, certainly if they want to do us a favor for customer service purposes and keeping up any kind of loyalty to the app, that would go a long way if they did something like that. I think for this next, well, I say season 8 in quotes, because I think it's only being sold table by table. I don't think they're going to offer the season pass or anything anymore.
Well, there's no advantage to doing it.
No. But like you said, 5 tables a year. Well, right off the bat, if they've already done Mustang, they've already done AC/DC, they've already done Star Trek, and then we have what do we got? Woe Nelly and Big Buck Hunter to look forward to, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Boom. There's 5 Sterns. That'll
Just
take
like
up
that.
your season 8, just like that. 3 of which all the work has pretty much already been done for.
Yep.
So that'll give them a lot of leeway and time to get these other things up and running. They have saying things settle down a bit,
and just give them a little bit of breathing space, right? Because that's I think after anything like this, when you change what you need to deliver, even this is everything, not just game development, but just in business in general. If you've been death marching down the path like they have been for the last 7 or 8 seasons now, right? 7 seasons. You just need to stop and kind of reset yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard work. Like it's a tiring schedule. So yeah, give them a bit of breathing room. Let them look into these other IPs and give them the attention they deserve, so they can actually produce something of quality and something that's worthy of being released. Because we do know, unfortunately, that the track record of some of these other titles that were developed during TPA, we could see the issues with quality with them.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that, in hindsight now, the only reason why that was the case was because they were so slammed with TPA, but they had to keep on trying to innovate, because we learned, didn't we, in the interview, that Brunswick Pro Bowling was actually a test bed for dollar games.
Right.
So even though that release was arguably not that stellar, it was an experiment for Farsight that they were running to see what the adoption was like for actually engaging a monetization platform and actually doing that dollar game avenue. And they obviously learned lessons in it that they could then apply to the Pinball Tournaments app, which by all accounts will get a little bit more love now that the WMS contract has ceased.
Yeah.
And, maybe some of these things that we've had questions about during the TPA's time, they may actually be resurrected in a way that they will be much better and more polished, and they'll actually be worthy of release. And, I saw the other day actually that the Pinball Cadet received yet another update with what seemed like it was a 2-line chain summary in the the changelog, but it was like, oh yeah, just an engine update. You know, so
That's all.
yeah, just, engine update and bug fixes. So oh yeah, just an engine update, nothing big. So you know, these sort of things probably wouldn't have happened if they were on the regular TPA cadence.
Right.
So you know, it's good. Like I think it's a big shock, right?
Look, folks, we're trying to find silver linings here because, as you may have noticed, we are gigantic TPA apologists.
Oh yeah, we are. Everyone knows that we are.
It's one of those things that I always go back to. I love the game for what it was when I first got it, and I've always tried to hold on to that and never let myself get bogged down by the potential that the game could have been. And I think that winds up being a lot of people's disappointment, is that they saw what could have become this game and it just plain never went there. And now with the loss of literally 2/3 of all the tables that they've made, people are going, well, there it goes completely. We're never going to see the vision realized. But it wasn't a vision that necessarily Farsight ever promoted. But tell you what we're going to do, though. We're going to bring in another voice for this part of the conversation. And it's a voice, folks, that you have not heard in our podcast for a very long time.
To be precise, since episode 18.
Or yeah. So coming in right now is Sean Don Carlos. Sean was one of our original podcasters and one of our little merry band. And you also might remember Sean did the very detailed Lost in the Zone segment on how to play actual pinball machines. So, hey, Sean.
Greetings, Earthlings.
There it is.
It's good to be back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
So I think you kind of fell into the camp of one of these people that was always wanting the potential of TPA, and eventually you just kind of got so sick of it not getting there that you went off and did other games.
I don't know that I was sick of it. It's just, it was something that I felt, I had devoted, a considerable part of my, my free time to. And it was, it wasn't that I was upset with TPA or, I mean, I still played it.
Oh, okay.
It's just, I didn't feel that I needed to be, as involved with it as I was.
Yeah.
So I went on for about 3 years and, came back right before this happened, and it's like, wow, I have really lousy timing, apparently. But I do have all 7 seasons, so it's not like I've totally been without pinball.
Yeah, right.
So when you first heard the news, I don't know, did you go through a range of emotions? I know that me and Jared did.
Yeah.
I of course the initial shock, because this wasn't expected.
Right.
But yes and no. I know a couple seasons, like actually I think right around the time I left, there was some concern that there was rumors going about that the license wouldn't be renewed, and at that time that turned out to be false.
Yeah, that was between season 2 and 3.
I think it happened again while I was gone.
Between seasons 5 and 6, yep.
Yes.
But it was kind of almost baked into how they did it, because I've always maintained that season 1, which has all the Medieval Badness, Monster Bash, all the top flight,
the gold standards. Yeah.
I mean, I know why they did it that way, because if you didn't know, if you were uncertain that you were going to have 7 seasons, which I don't think at the beginning that we expected necessarily to go for that long. You would try to do your A-list tables first, because you might not get a second chance.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
But as time went on, and not that the later seasons are bad tables. I mean, I played most of them in real life, but they're just not, they don't have the star power that, Medieval Badness is going to bring to a season.
Right.
Or like Twilight Zone, or even Addams Family, which I think was the first table in season 4.
Yeah, season 4.
They kind of petered out. And so I think, if I had to guess, I would say that this sales, and I have no link to their sales figures or anything, but I would guess that season 1 probably still outsells the rest of them, and maybe the revenue wasn't coming in like it used to be, and maybe somebody decided it was time for a change.
Yeah, my initial reaction, I mean, other than being just like, "Oh my gosh, you're kidding me," it was then, "What the hell did Farsight do?"
Well,
that was my initial.
I mean, to be fair, that's been a typical reaction over the years. There's been some moments that I'm like, why are we even having this discussion?
Right, because my first thought was then also back up the Brinks truck, man. What do you? Don't be cheap on this. And this before we knew anything about that Williams was not necessarily being friendly.
Right. No, I think my first reaction was literally, okay, who at Williams did you guys piss off?
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, and that even got me thinking when I was on that line of thinking. It was, well, did you violate the contract somehow? Was Williams not happy that you did the reskin of Doctor Who? Did they not like the idea of this pinball tournament app being a reskin of Fireball, and there's going to be money involved? Were they not happy with the idea that they'd partnered with Arcuda, who, and we're going to talk about them in just a minute or two, but Arcuda's machine is specifically set up that it can be a coin op, put into an arcade, and does that violate Williams's contract?
It could.
Well, I know that there was a time when Farsight was looking into that, and it specifically went against the contract, and so that's why they didn't pursue it any farther.
Well, and the other thing you have to remember is, I think the company's name is Scientific Games.
That's who owns it now. Yes.
Oh, is that right?
For a long, long time, and they probably still do. Bally made slot machines.
Yes.
And so they would be acutely aware of coin-operated devices, and wanting to get their.
And that was my thought. I was like, wait a second, because one of the sheet machines that Arcuda makes is a bar top machine. And I just kind of went, that could be viewed. I mean, you would see those. Yeah, you would see those in Las Vegas possibly, and that could be a violation of that. So that was my initial gut reaction, was that maybe
it could be. I'm not an attorney, and who knows what terrors lurk in the brains of attorneys. But
yeah.
True.
Yeah. My other thought was, and again, I've been gone, so I haven't been. I don't have the exact timeline down. But I also wonder if that Stern Pinball Arcade app had something to do with it.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that maybe Bally or Williams got jealous. But I don't.
I mean, it'd be a stretch. It'd be a stretch.
Yeah, it'd be kind of stretch. I think ultimately, now hearing that it was Williams just plain didn't want to come to the table. To begin with, that it's just like, oh, they're just being dicks.
I mean, I'm still talking like initial reaction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wild speculation in the absence of actual hard news.
Yeah. Yes. Because I think that was like my day one reaction. I think day two is when we found out. The added piece of information that it wasn't us not wanting to pay, that we kind of went, oh, and then it was just like, well, why are they being so vindictive? Why are they having them yank everything? I mean, that's just gonna gut the studio for this product.
Yeah.
And for potential sales.
Yeah, I don't even if there was a serious contract violation, that's one thing, but I mean, it's going to cost Williams a little bit, because if their tables aren't going to be getting sold, right?
And to me, it's like this is free money for you.
Yeah, it's ancient. I mean, comparatively ancient properties that you're not.
Yeah.
He is not being used anywhere else.
No, but I've also heard that Scientific is not like this is a drop in the bucket for them. Like pinball is so not even. What they think about that. and it's kind of what I equate to movie studios today, where they're all owned by multinational conglomerates, and what the movies studios make is but a pittance compared to what the multinational company itself makes. And so that's why all of a sudden bean counters start being the ones responsible for decisions rather than people with passion.
Yeah, if you walk down any casino, Las Vegas casino, and look at the slot machines, it's a study in licensing and not merchandising, but marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's there.
Yeah.
And, you got Game of Thrones slot machines. They've got Walking Dead slot. I mean, any property you care to name that's been anything in the last 5 years, there's a slot machine somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, now that I know the name of the company, I'm looking at the Scientific Games website, and it's just a sea of licensed properties.
Yeah.
Like they've got 007 licenses, for crying out loud. Like these are not a minor licenses that we're talking about here. So I can see, while they hold the intellectual property to WMS, like it's probably like an overhead for them. Actually, they're actually not really interested in dealing with anymore.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? Let it just wither on the vine? That doesn't make sense either. You would normally try and sell your, if you know there's a market out there, and clearly, with Farsight dealing with not scientific necessarily, but dealing with Williams for this amount of time, for 10 years, clearly there's a market. So you wouldn't just hide that in a corner. You try and get rid of it somewhere.
I mean, particularly now. I mean, pinball is still in a growth period. We know historically that pinball is cyclical, so it will usually go for 10 years and then die off. But I think that was mostly in part to the fact that pinball didn't evolve with the times, and we're seeing that change in the way pinball manufacturers are evolving with technology now. So I'm not sure that we're going to see such a drop-off in pinball like we have seen in past seasons, which is going to be interesting to see. So you're right. I think if Scientific were to abandon negotiations altogether for this IP, that doesn't make sense at all. And I'm just wondering what might be going on there.
Yeah. So with that, folks, we're going to tease this. Next week, we're going to put on our famous speculation hats.
The patented BlahCade pinball. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Don't worry. It won't take long to dust off, because speculation is what we
this is what we do. We're going to put on our speculation hats, and we're going to assume, because otherwise there's no conversation without this assumption that we need conversation. We're going to assume that digital pinball with Williams is not dead, and we're going to try and figure out what possibly could potentially happen with this license, but that'll be next week. So we're teasing that. So make sure you listen. Stay tuned. Let's shift over to, and Sean, you can again see if this is something that would even interest you. But Arcuda cabinets, their video pinball cabinets. So they had the agreement with Farsight to be the officially licensed cabinet of Farsight, and therefore would have the exclusive rights to Pinball Arcade titles. Okay. And with that, Arcuda has been working with Farsight to make cabinet mode, and this was going to be exclusive to them. And it wasn't just some simple camera angle change that Arcuda was having Farsight do. They wound up making 4 different particular shifts in the camera angles. They did updated graphics, updated lighting. They also wound up putting in functionality so that you can have the separate DMD. You can have the back glass be the actual back glass. That also integrated into the functionality would be so that you can have actual solenoids firing. You could have shaker motors going. You could have tilt be functional. So there was all these things that were going into it. And then on top of that, which was the thing that we've been having to bite our tongues about, and now finally we get to talk about, was the No Glasses 3D. Oh. So what they did was they put a Kinect camera to do head tracking. So as you shift, the whole table shifts ever so slightly. So you could actually move your head around and the perspective on the table would change with you. It looks just amazing. Yeah.
It looks incredible. This tech is amazing. What they've
I mean, literally, when I saw them show the video on YouTube, I went, why are they showing a real attack from Mars? And then I went, wait a second, that's not a real attack from Mars. That's TPA being.
I have to go find this, but I'm impressed because I remember, the early seasons of TPA. Some devices, it stuttered and barely ran with a flat camera.
Yeah.
If they can get it to do, basically parallax 3D in time with your head movement.
Yes.
We've come a long way.
Yeah. That's literally and that was what Arcuda was working on with them. And unfortunately, Farsight was only able to update 76 of the tables. So they didn't quite get through the complete list. Obviously, I don't know what tables didn't get done, but I know that the big ones did.
I was going to say, I'd hope they'd start with the major ones.
Oh, yeah. Then Medieval Madness, Monster Bash,
all the
Addams Family, Twilight Zone. Those for sure have been done. I'm sure if anybody contacted Arcuda, then they would give you the complete list before purchasing. So here's the deal, though. Because they're not going to be able to sell this license before or after June 30th. They asked Farsight to release the license so that they could release it to anybody with a cabinet. And the difference will be that you won't get the Arcuda functionality, which is Arcuda has a touchscreen, so that won't be there. You won't have the 3D parallax camera. And I don't know if the solenoid and tilt are worked into exclusively with the Arcuda or not. But
I've got a feeling they are, Chris.
I have a feeling they are.
If you want the full immersive Arcuda game experience, you need to go and invest in the cabinet when they become available. So basically,
buying the software first and then buying the cabinet once it's released.
This would allow you to. It's weird, but it's the only way they can do it because if they don't get the sales of the cabinet mode done by June 30th, then that's the market gone for them.
So, I mean, they're basically trying to recoup their costs at the moment with all this, so that's why they're releasing it early.
I imagine there's a severe sense of panic and urgency at that establishment right now.
Yeah. So here's the deal with this. If you already own, like you said, Sean, if you already own all of the tables on Steam, you only have to pay $199 for the key, and then you'll get all the cabinet mode stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you don't own any of the tables and you want to get all this, now here's the key of this one. You'll be buying the offline version of all the tables. So that means it will not be tied to the servers. That's going to run you $499. If you want the Arcuda cabinet version, that's going to run you $499. So it's a chunk of change, no doubt. But I also kind of think that for a lot of people that, if you're already planning on dumping $9,000 into a video arcade cabinet, this is just but a small investment.
This is play money at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah, and do you think about that? Like, if you were to go out and let's use real money here, let's take that $500 and let's go and try and buy a single machine for that. What are you gonna end up with? You're gonna end up, if you're lucky, with a project pin that's, as I painfully know, will cost you a lot of money to get working.
Right.
So I don't know, $500, while it's a huge amount of money to lay out, it's got its pluses, particularly with the technology that we'll actually be seeing on that platform. So,
well, and again, you got to think of, because this is also, all the tables are pro mode. So if you were buying all 7 seasons at $40 a pop, right there is $280. Slap on the other 200 that is for the Arcuda license, and there you go. So they're not trying to gouge you or anything. It's just literally, if you didn't have it already,
that's the cost to get in. That's basically the cost.
Yeah.
And because they can't discount anything because of the terms of the license, they've got to just charge full like a bull, really.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, that does bring me back to Williams being jerks. So, the fact that Farsight had to get clearance from them to put things on sale initially, for any time the Steam sales went through, they had to get permission from Williams. They didn't have to get permission from Stern. They didn't have to get permission from Gottlieb. They had to get permission from Williams.
Yeah.
And now the fact that Williams is like, nope, no sales for you. It's, again...
It's just rubbing salt in the wound, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm sure the contract's worded in such a way that if they, Farsight did put the tables on sale, that the difference was coming out of Farsight, not out of Williams' cut.
Probably.
Totally.
Especially with the way they're acting now, I can't believe they were, taking any less for their pockets.
Right.
But it's just the whole thing reeks of bad blood.
Yes, totally.
And who knows? It might have been because I had, and I've heard various rumors about this, but with the negotiations between season 5 and 6, there was a plan, I believe, that Farsight wanted to just plain outright purchase the entire library and be done with these negotiations every 20 tables. And I don't know what happened that fell through. But that might have been even, when I was guessing what went wrong, that might have been Williams just kind of going, you know what? We don't want to come back 2 years from now. And we don't want to sell our entire catalog. So we're just not going to deal with you anymore, period. But we're not going to tell you that until the last minute.
Yeah. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I said, I mean, it's just... The timing of it seems a little off. The abruptness of it seems very off.
Yeah, very off.
It like I said, it just reeks of something was not kosher there. Something was not copacetic.
No way.
Yeah, and we'll probably never know what that was.
No, probably not.
It's really our business to know, but
not really.
And maybe I don't want to know, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, there's that, isn't there? Good point.
Don't go looking for trouble.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how, because this is, like I said, this is truly damaging to Farsight's reputation in terms of our players. People feel burned. This is the straw that broke the camel's back, basically, and I don't know how much trust people are going to be putting going forward with purchasing tables.
Oh, I imagine there's pitchforks and rioting in the streets.
Yeah, if you come to the forum,
I've been there.
Yep. Yeah. So,
and I've had a look at Facebook and then promptly turned away very quickly.
Oh no, I know better than that.
It's not a good place to be at the moment.
I went that place, and I have a long history. We're not going back.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I was sitting there with my popcorn popping it in my mouth, going through Facebook, going, "Oh, this is interesting."
Drama junkie.
Yeah, but then I got to a point where I was like, "Damn it! I know the answer to that, and I can't say anything." So,
yeah,
that's what I put
the keyboard down, Chris. Just put the keyboard down.
Put the keyboard down. Yeah. Yeah, I just really hope that Farsight does do something to heal the wounds. And I think going through some of those older tables for the people that own them, that would be a nice olive branch, if you will, to try and correct the situation. To basically show that, hey, we're not all about the money. We do care about you guys and want you to have the best experience possible.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'll just very quickly. So I've been gone from the game, and I had it, and I played it occasionally, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. And then I started playing it again more regularly. And I've been gone for so long that I did a drop catch in TPA the other day, and I'm like, "What is this? It was never able to do this before." I literally dropped the controller because I'm like, "What? I've never seen this before."
Yep.
When did that get at? It's probably been a couple of years now, I'm guessing.
Season 4.
Oh yeah,
I think that was introduced with Addams Family, actually.
No, because Addams Family. I played Addams Family during its beta, and it was never able to do that.
I think
might have been right after.
Drop catching, I think, was beginning of season 6 when they did physics 3.0. I'm pretty sure.
Wait! I know exactly what it was. It was with Xenon.
Oh yeah.
When was Xenon?
Right. I don't know.
That might have been season 6.
Yeah,
you're
season
right.
6.
Yeah, so it was season 6. And then they retroactively started going through all the tables and putting it back in, because it wasn't just a drop in that they could do. It
was a retune.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that was a retuning.
Yeah. And the thing with the retuning, we found out along the way, it's unique to each table. Like they don't just copy and paste tuning. Like it's subtly different on each table, which is strange. No,
I mean the geometry is different. The material even is different.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we have for you folks. We do feel your pain, and we also are always trying to find the silver lining. Oh, you know what? We're going to go to this just because he jumped in right now, right at the end, as he tends to do with our podcasts.
He always misses them.
He always misses them. Hey there, John, also known as the forum as Pinball Wiz 45B.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. You made it.
You missed the whole thing, just so you know.
I've listened to the tail end, but actually, Xenon actually was season 4, I believe.
Okay.
And that's when the physics 3.0 was added.
Okay. It was Xenon
with all the drop catching. Yeah, it was Xenon.
Yeah.
And then they added DirectX 11 before that. I remember that clearly.
You didn't tell me you added an error and omissions feature to the podcast. I the old ones.
You know, I
Circus Voltaire and the Menagerie Ball.
We're a bit light on facts here at the BlahCade Pinball.
Like I said, we specialize in speculation, and that's it.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a trademark feature of our show.
The past, probably. The future, not so much.
Yeah. So. I don't know what you wanted to jump in and say there, John. Other than I'll tell you this: we're saving any speculation for the future of digital pinball for next week. So this has just basically been our reaction to the interview with Bobby and our initial reaction to hearing the news about TPA losing the Williams license.
That's a shame about what happened, really.
Yeah,
I'm glad that Bonzo run added in at the last minute.
Yeah, totally.
It's one of my favorites, and it'd be a shame not to have it in there in the first place. So I think might as well
they went out on a bang. Hey, they really did go out on a bang with that table. I'm very.
I'm just sad I never got my roller games.
Roller games look like a nice table
the other day.
You played the roller games?
Yeah, they have one at CP Pinball now.
It's good stuff.
If you say so. It doesn't agree with me.
Say so.
No, it's I'm having a hard time getting into that one for some reason. Some of the shots are a little weird.
Here's the key to that game. You must play it with somebody else, because it is one of those. It is one of the most fun games to steal somebody's multi-roll from.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Shared box.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh.
So it's one, and because some of the shots are particularly wicked and tight, where you're going for it and you're going for it and you're going for it, and the other person can clearly see that you're going for it as they're playing. If you don't get it, that's all they're going for too. And it's just a lot of fun and nerve-wracking on that way. Yeah, the single player experience, it is what it is. But no, when you do multiplayer, it's amps up the fun incredibly. So that's why.
I'll have to see if they have one at Replay FX.
Yeah, they
probably do. Yeah,
I don't know how long it's going to be here because the owner is going to put it in his private collection. But we have a Houdini on site actually.
Oh, wow.
It's talk about tight shots. Some of those ramps, dude, looks like I don't even think a pinball would fit through there.
They look really tight.
Yeah, it's pretty. You got to be pretty accurate with your shot making, or you're not getting anywhere on that table. And of course, Houdini is an arrogant bastard and taunts you the entire time.
Lovely.
But anyway,
I know that a whole bunch of people from my my pinball league, which we had our meeting last weekend, they showed up late because there was a launch. Well, I shouldn't say a launch party, but there's been a launch world tour, if you will, of AC or of Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden,
and so they got their hands on that. I was like, oh man, that'd be fun to.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet.
We've actually got Iron Maidens, the first 2 Iron Maidens in the country, down the Gold Coast, as per usual. Because the guy who owns the Time Zone Family Entertainment Center down there air freights them in.
Oh God!
Yeah, so it's just not
how many pigeons do you need for that?
Oh, there's a fair few little Flappy Birds having to fly that one in for sure.
So it's understandable when Jared has to pay $2 a game instead of the usual $1 a game.
Yeah, the problem is though it's just far enough away from me that it's really hard to get to. Yeah. So I just wait for Netherworld to get it because they will eventually.
And hey, folks, since we're going really long on this podcast, I'm just going to throw this in. I finally solved my issue of the dead lights on my 8-Ball Deluxe.
Oh, connector joy?
Connector joy, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Let's just say doing connectors, there's a load of fun.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
I did the ones on my Twilight Zone, and it is not fun at all, sir.
Fingers hurt so bad from holding and crimping and stripping wire, and then trying to shove them into the connector. Which, like, if you're doing with a thick wire, no worries. But with the 18 or not, excuse me, not the 18 gauge, it's the 20 gauge wire. It just bends on you as you're trying to shove the pin into the housing.
Oh, that's the worst.
I've just finally figured out which tool I have to use to help me along and make that not so much of an issue anymore. But
you found that at the end, right? So
no. Okay, yeah, let's go off on a story time, kids. So when I
just like old times,
I know. Yeah, when I first started doing these Molex connectors, there was no instruction as to which way to put the pin in.
You wouldn't read the instructions anyway.
There wasn't instructions to look at, so I just had to kind of figure it out. And there's clearly an open slot that basically you want the pin to kind of push up against it. I was assuming coming out. So I went and I started doing the first batch and put them in, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, I think I was supposed to have a skipped pin.
Oh no!
So I look at the photo that I took of the thing. Sure enough, I didn't leave a gap, and I'd already finished the entire 28-pin connector. So I had to extract every single one of them. Fortunately, they came out relatively easy. So I was like, okay, fine. I skipped the pin. I put it in. Okay, fine. So then I went and did 4 more of these connectors, basically the entire loom. Boom. Plugged it in, turned on the machine. Light was still dead, but I was like, hey, at least the machine still turned on. I didn't, muck up anything.
Blow it up. Yeah, exactly.
So then the last ones that I'm doing are of the 18 gauge cable. And it's got a slightly different connector. And when I go and put it into the Molex thing, and I went to go put it in the same direction that I was doing all the other ones, and it didn't lock. And I rotated it 180 degrees and put it in, and it locked in place. And I went, oh no. Oh no. So the next day, I went to go do the other loom, and I was back to the 20 gauge cable, and I took the first one and I put it in the new direction, and sure enough, it gave me the little audible click, and I went, oh, son of a bitch. I had to go back and unplug every single thing and rotate it 180 degrees and put it back in. Oh, it just was painful.
Now, see, I was just waiting for you to tell the story about getting the red wire with the orange stripe confused with the orange wire with the red stripe.
No, see, I did. Here's how I did it. I only removed one cable at a time.
Oh, sure.
So I wasn't going to go that route, and I made sure that I took photos of the thing before I started taking, removing wires. But, so when I did the second loom, I was doing the second half of the lamp board connectors, and I took off the little protective sheath, and I was kind of pulling, and all of a sudden there was one little wire just dangling, and I went, I wonder if that's what my problem's been all along. And there was a couple of other wires that were rather crispy. and the pins looked a little burnt. And then on the headers, there was this kind of like green.
Oh, corrosion.
But it was slightly gooey, and so I wiped all that down and put then went ahead and did all the connectors, put them back on, turn the machine on, and boom, full lights. So yeah, I'll go back and I'll hit that with some cleaner.
What the best thing to use in those contacts, is just go down to your, I don't know what you got there, like Harbor Freight or whatever, and get not a graphite pencil, it's fiberglass pencil.
Yeah, they don't have them here, Jared. I've looked.
Oh, we can order them on the internet, hey. And they're really good. I'll buy one for you here and send it over to La Habra. Because I can get them just from there, like literally up the road for me. I'll send you one over as a gift from the Aussie lands.
From Aussie land, with the insane amount of shipping that even a pencil would cost.
Like the 50,000 pesos that we have to pay to get the thing over to you.
So anyway, that was good news for me. So now I need to just do the rest of the connectors, which is the second half of the MPU and the second half of the solenoid. And hopefully that'll fix. I haven't during the past months, me testing out the machine, I haven't had the issue of after doing all the drop targets, all of a sudden the stand-up target just started firing on its own. I haven't had that happen since, but it always happened during warm weather, and so during winter it hasn't been doing that. So I'm hoping that just by now redoing all the connectors, I won't even have to worry about that anymore either. And
the chances are high.
The chances are high, and then 8-Ball will be happy once again. And then the only thing left I'll have to do is to buy new lights or new lamps because I've got a few that are burnt out. But that's all. That's all easy peasy. So anyway, that's the short-storied tale of me and the lights. But I'm happy now.
Well, since we're talking about real pinball,
and the podcast going on long anyway,
and whatever, like
you knew this would happen as soon as I showed up. It was the podcast.
So anyhow, I'm at the point now where I've decided that I've done enough paint work on the Star Race playfield, and I am going to probably clear coat it at some point.
Oh, the moment of truth.
Oh yes, I'm quite fearful because I think there are patches on the playfield that still have some either adhesive or something on there. Because when I've been doing the spraying, certain parts of the playfield have been bubbling a little bit, and it's because of like probably sticky stuff on the playfield. But when I tried to get it off last time, I removed paint. So I think I'm just going to spray it and pray. Spray and pray.
Well, but here's the thing, though. If the paint was bubbling, the clear coat's going to bubble, and if you get a bubble in the clear coat, then that's a really bad time. You need to make sure that thing is clean
as possible. Yeah, I mean, I have to just be really careful, and just try and just get the adhesive off and not get the paint off.
Yeah, because you're going to be in a world of hurt if you spray clear and then that issue pops up. Because then it's going to go cloudy on you.
Yuck.
And that's even worse than a dodgy paint job.
Yeah. Which I think the last layer of paint that I put on, if you follow me on Instagram, was a sort of a light green color. And it was not a good match for the playfield, but I'm just going to let it ride and lock it in.
What the hell? Just get back to being able to play the thing. Forget it.
Well, I've got these beautiful brand new parts from Pinball Resource. They are so shiny compared to the ones that were on there. Like I even managed to find a unique playfield shield set for the game.
Oh, nice!
Like a brand new, beautiful clear set of plastics. So this thing is going to be so shiny when it's done. I can't wait to actually flip it.
So there's our cue, folks. You need to follow Jared on Instagram as well as on Twitter. On Twitter, he is at Jared Morgs. What are you on Instagram?
Same handle.
There you go. I am on Twitter at Shut Your Trap. Don't follow me on Instagram.
nothing to see here.
I was just going through all that you see on Instagram is pictures of movie set stuff or pinball stuff or me drinking Slurpees, so it's not really exciting.
Unless you like all those three things.
Then follow me.
It can be exciting.
Exactly. Why don't you go ahead and drop us an email to the show if you have comments, questions, concerns. That would be BlahCade@gmail.com. make sure you visit our website, which happens to be blockadepinball.com/episodes, and there you will be able to look at all the timing notes for the episodes that are posted, as well as all the wonderful movie reviews that I keep on flooding the site with.
Yes,
I noticed that.
More movie reviews than actual episodes at the moment.
Yeah, there is a ton more. I know it's kind of ridiculous. Thanks, MoviePass. If either of you two have Twitter handles you'd like to promote, feel free.
No.
Crickets.
I've still managed to avoid the
Twitters,
the Twitters, and all the other stuff.
All right, so folks, I hope you've enjoyed this ginormous, supersized episode. And now you can go onto the forums and answer questions with a little more knowledge and probably a little more piss and vinegar too. Next week, like I said, we will be talking about what we think is going to be happening with Williams and the future of digital pinball. Or at least I should say what we hope is going to be happening, because I don't want this to be the end of Williams digital tables. There's too many good tables out there that haven't been done. So we're going to pretend that it's not the end, and we're going to put on the speculation hats accordingly and go from there. So tune in next week. And thanks again to Sean and Carlos. It's been way too long hearing your voice.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
Absolutely. And thanks for John, popping in right at the last minute.
Well, it's not the last minute anymore. He's been on for a good 20 to 30.
Well, this is true now.
That's true. Just as usual, and Sean knows this all too well, we don't let people talk. All right, folks.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks again for listening. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Shut the door. Shut the door. Oh, sorry.
Shut the door. Don't shut the door.